Hello and welcome as it is the 20th day of October 2019. My name is Derek, all bets trades, and of the like that is within each's own risk and their own reward. This is going to be a record for me, most consecutive hours without a trade. It's going to be 48 when I wake up in the morning. Nothing, no trades today, none since early in the morning, not really much of one yesterday morning as well. Markets aren't doing much. And it's frustrating, yeah, but you know what else can you do? It's just a waiting game, and you got something like a symmetrical triangle, which is indecisiveness, which is generally what everything that's been going on within this market is as well. But those are the moves. When we scroll it back like this, we can see just the smallness that we've had over the last a few days. This is a 3 hour time frame. Even just compare to this move, you see it go from 1300 down to 9 1/3, 9.5 area. And then even before, we look at the size of this volatility compared to this in here. And then we compare this there into what was going on beforehand within. And these moves are just amazing when you could have all of those like alligator teeth, V-shaped kind of motions that go in. But when you're doing stuff like this, it is lackluster, to say the least. But you know what? What else can I do? In viewing the daily term, we had this big move I've talked about so many times before. And there's some of the movements here. But just as we see this, how it's just staying and, well, not able to break out or break down. Before you have this little bit of action that's gotten above the 18 average highs, but it didn't sustain itself. I can't say immaculately, or miraculously, I can't even say either, but fanatically, don't want to say that. Undisputedly, there's a better question, but that's a better word. It did not go below the 18 average of lows, and it held it. And a couple of opportunities to break down in here, but after it broke down, it has held and stayed below the 18 average of highs. This is, and I mean, I can almost do this with any chart. Of course, this goes back to really September, like the 2nd. And here it's close to Halloween, October. So basically, 2 full months of this boring. And I really do feel this way within it. And putting in all these football picks again, 100, no, I can't say 100%, but 90%. This has been a boredom factor. And I didn't expect that I would figure out the hockey type of information that I am. Because here I am today getting information like this on how often a hockey player is somebody's top captain in a fantasy game where you wager fiat currency to try to win more. And this information was what I predicted, that Johnny Gaudreau was going to be extremely low. Cam Talbot was going to be very low. He was the winning goalie today. He was the winning player. And that Anaheim was going to be way too high. I calculated, I guess that's the word I was looking for. I'm just trying to find my keyboard now here. Here it is. Just so I can scroll down the other stuff that I typed. So what I predicted, which was even higher than I thought, was that the ownership of what people would go would be around 62%, I thought, for the Ducks, and it worked out to be 65. And that's because people wanted to play on Anaheim. Vegas gave Anaheim about a 55% chance of winning, which was really low compared to what this was at. So dichotomies like this I can profit from. Also, this is one of the this is one of the difficult games to handicap because just if you look at statistically and you're only looking at every game teams have played this year, not even looking at players, then you could probably make a safe assumption that Anaheim should be okay favorites. And if you knew who the players were, then you could make a case where Anaheim should be a small favorite to Calgary being a small favorite. And that's where I was at. And I'm thinking if it's going to be this way, just go heavy on the players of the Flames and put in Cam Talbot as your goalie. So it was a decent profit again. And stakes, unfortunately, are low, but not really. Tomorrow night, they have one game per day. It seems sometimes two. There was two today, as there was an earlier one as well, which had small profit. And the projected consensus for tomorrow, I think, is that the Dallas Stars would be picked by 70 to 75% players. And this is math. I love math. Vegas odds, again, math, but 67%. That says Ottawa's going to win. So this is something interesting. Playing a game where it's a major mismatch. And I think I have a good idea for how this will go. But as far as, interestingly speaking, as far as like Vegas odds are concerned, when you got Ottawa and your 2-1 underdogs, Dallas is a pretty bad team, but you know what? So is Ottawa. So in such, it's really just nothing more than a hobby, a way of playing a game that really I know I can win. And I didn't expect to have this even come up like week and a half, 2 weeks ago. As I was just fooling around, come up with a quick idea, and then as it comes into your head, just more and more happen to come through. And a lot of this is just being an ultimate contrarian, and I feel that that's what I have been a lot of times within my life. And just even being into cryptocurrencies is most certainly the global contrarian play right now, as they've been hyped up for years and years, but not really. You walk around your community, just talk to everyday people about things like that. They really don't have any clue. They have as about as much clue as that as a lot of you do when I'm talking about this hockey kind of stuff. In fact, you'd have more about that than they would about Bitcoin. It's still one of those things that is under the radar, I believe, and whatever happens happens, but I can only play probabilities. And I wish I could go with amazing statistics and do stuff like that, and that's what I'm going to be doing a big time on Monday, is talking about mathematics and statistics. It's going to go into sports again, into pro football, but that will be tomorrow uh, afternoon. Unfortunately, these markets are boring as shit, basically. Litecoin, pretty much the same sort of deal. Ever since getting into the correctionary phase in September, it has failed to break out or break down, but boy, did it ever a failed breakout opportunity. Oftentimes, from failed moves brings fast moves in the opposite direction, but no, not really too much in here. Maybe a little bit because it did have an okay pierce below the lows, but and then this ended up being a failed breakdown, but unable to get above the highs here. Still currently holding and staying below the 18 or above the 18 average of highs, and just in this long, really 2 month. I was going to say week, but yeah, much longer than that. 2 month correctionary phase. And I was talking about inverted head and shoulders pattern yesterday. As we have the left shoulder, I guess you can call in here, head. But the real thing was getting above this level of resistance. Couldn't get above that one, and obviously, even these more two other larger levels, unable to get above, and more recently, having a concise break below the 18 average of lows in the previous period. This one with 2 hours and 8 minutes to go, with 3 hour period is a third of the way in, which is just pausing this move. You see it break down. We've seen how there was major support between the 66.72 and the 66.40 handle. So now that little range area, as well as 18 average of highs, is what I'd be looking as any levels of previous level of resistance. The next key level of support has already gone halfway down already, is really between this range of these previous lows. So that's this little key support. It's a bit way through. Whether if it's going to go there, it's either it does or it doesn't. If it does, that means it should go there. I'm going to say immediately, as in without having any real rallies beforehand, or maybe we have a, like you say, very common to come down 50%, whatever, halfway through, 30, 40, 60% of the way through, come back to where you came from. That, of course, is the double 6.8 or so area to double six, well, 67 handle. And if it comes up there, starts to leave the 18 again, okay, yeah, we're most likely heading lower. And you could get a failed breakdown. And do they happen? Yeah, but what percentage of the time are they going to happen? Higher than zero and below 100. And statistics, if you're good at it, you can try to calculate situations for what this is, like how this is doing, to say Okay, based on what's happened before, based on whatever volume factors, volatility factors, you can calculate that maybe there's an X% chance that this is going to happen. And if you're able to calculate the mathematics obviously correctly, then that puts you into a very, very big edge because when you're looking for things of interpretation, if the numbers are correct and not interpreted, then the results are the same way. They are absolutely like it's like almost like scientific proof or whatever. But if your numbers are interpreted for where you think they are, then the results would always be interpreted as well. And to get exact numbers for different situations and to be right precise on exact statistics oftentimes is impossible. But when you have a situation like this, if you're all these math geniuses can say, yep, there's a 22% chance of this is going to happen because of this, and that. Or there's a 42% chance of this. And within the 42% chance if that happens, there's a 27% chance of this, which would result in a 45% likelihood of that. I mean, you can go on beyond and beyond with mathematics to give yourself the largest possible edge that you can. I'm going to talk more about that throughout the week. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.